and then hear from each of you. So the first question is, what would you say to your younger self about how to survive into adulthood? So that's one question. The next one is, what is the best way for young people to protect themselves from interpersonal violence, peer pressure, suicidal thoughts, or things like that? The next one is, how did you avoid gang activity when people you knew were in gangs? Then what would you tell? Would you tell if a young person had a gun then, like when you were younger, or would you tell if someone had a gun now, illegally, if they have a license to carry? That's another thing. And what do you consider your superpower? And then if you have any other thoughts or comments. So the first question, what would you say to your younger self about how to survive into adulthood? So, and whoever would like to go first, May.
I'll go first. I would say I'm very, very mature for my age. Like I'm 21, but I do not live my life like a 21-year-old. I've put a lot of responsibilities on myself, like already at this age. So, like the people that I mentor and younger people in general, I always tell them to like, enjoy the moment, like live in the moment. Don't try to, it's good to plan, but life is so unexpected. So just soak in the moment, enjoy it, because once you're grown, there's no going back. So I always tell them to like enjoy it, have fun, do everything you can while you're young. And yeah, that's what I would say.
Mhm. Okay.
I can go. Um, I think one thing that I would say is to like enjoy, definitely what Jordan was saying, like enjoy life, and also remember that like even if you're young, like anything could happen in life and you are not like what is it, inevitable? No, not inevitable. What's that? Immortal?
Invincible.
Yeah,
Invincible.
invincible. There we go. Yeah, like you are not invincible. Like anything could happen to you, and so enjoy life, and also like be safe while enjoying life. There's a lot of fun things to do and a lot of fun things to enjoy. I would say to ask all the questions while you can. Don't be afraid to go to adult mentors. I know, like personally, I've made so many adult moves this year for my age, and like I have had to ask all the questions, and like being open and humbled enough to know that like even though I'm 26, I don't have it all together. I don't have all the answers. So going to adult mentors for like their honest opinion and also for safety too. Um and yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot more I could say, but definitely just remember that you're not invincible. Going to adult mentors for advice and their opinion and to hear their stories and experiences too. Because I think adults have more experience than like I might think that they do, and they have a lot more like wisdom and input than some people might initially think.
Mhm. Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess I would add along to that. Just continue to, again, seek out mentors. You definitely can never have enough mentors that can obviously help you with different areas of your life. Never be afraid to stop learning new things, I think is one of the bigger things that I continue to tell my college students. They do kind of feel like, oh, I'm at this age where I feel like I have to be a perfectionist and I feel like I have to know this, this, and this in order to achieve like perfection in adulthood. But in reality, adulthood, the way it looks, is constantly shifting as the world is progressing and as different events and things like that are continuing to take place. So just continue to be open to expanding your vision of what you think life is supposed to look like, and then have mentors along that journey with you to help you as you're like navigating that. And then the biggest thing I would say is not being afraid to start over. I can say that for myself right now. Okay. Like 28, about to be 29 in September. And I am shifting my job. I'm going to have to move cities, start over with a brand new home again, do new friends, family like situations, all of that again. And so that is going to shift, obviously, for me, the way I have been doing life. But I know it's going to be worth it. I'm excited. I think it's going to grow me as an individual. And so I think that as long as you are obviously open and willing to learn and willing to expand yourself and willing to start over, then that's a beautiful thing, even in adulthood, no matter what you think it's supposed to look like. So that's what I would say.
I appreciate that. And, you know, I mean, I think it's so interesting that, you know, we have different generations on the Zoom, and I'm learning from you and I'm hearing what you have to say. And, you know, what I can say is that and it's the same. I think if I were to speak to my younger self, um, I would say not to be afraid, not to be afraid to um, meet new people, to learn new things, um, and not to be so hard on myself, you know, and my image, and you know, because if I compared myself to people when I was younger, which I did a lot, then you know it held me back because I was fearful, because I didn't measure up to what other people looked like, acted like, you know, whatever. And so I would spend less time not having the self-esteem that I could have had. Okay, so so what is the best way for young people to protect themselves from interpersonal violence, bad things that can happen, peer pressure, suicidal thoughts? And and so I'm going to add this. What role do you think parents have in protecting a young person from those kinds of things as well?
I guess we could just keep with the order we're going in. Um, I would say it is extremely important. It doesn't, I mean, I wouldn't say, because everybody has different relationships. Like, for not everybody is parents. Some people might be grandparents, aunts, uncles, but an adult figure, period. I know I have a very, very close relationship with my parents. I can talk to them about anything. Even when I was in school, like, I didn't have the best experience in school. So I know if there was an issue where I thought I was gonna like get into it with someone or something was gonna happen, I could always call my parents. They were always there for me. They always told me what I needed to do. They always like guided me. Like, it was never a situation where I felt like I could like, or I was too scared to talk to somebody. And that saved me from a lot of situations because, you know, you're young, you're impulsive. The first thing you're thinking, like, you're moving off of your emotions. And when you talk to somebody older, they have a little bit more rationale. They think more clearly. So having a relationship with a just whoever that figure is going to be in your life is extremely important. Having that other perspective, having somebody you can say, I was mad because XYZ, and then they can speak to it from, okay, well, this is a separate perspective. And it is saved me from a lot of situations. So I know that can help a lot of people.
Thank you.
I definitely think that parents and adult figures, especially parents, play a pretty big role. I think that when it comes to the relationship of child to parent, that is a lot of like give and take, kind of like a give and receive type thing. So, children being able to go to their parents and say, hey, like, this is what I'm feeling. This happened at school today. Because I know that a lot of times, sometimes kids will want to bottle that up and not say anything for multiple reasons. And so I think that it's important for not for, oh gosh, I'm a teacher. Sorry. For children and, to have those opportunities to give that information and for parents to be able to receive that well, and receive it with empathy and compassion, and to be able to receive it and be open and have honest conversations. I think Like Jordan said, when you have good relationships with your parents, and like it just makes it easier for them to be honest about what's going on in the world around them and what's being like done in the world. Like they're able to sit down and not like give what's going on in the world in an age appropriate way, but not necessarily sugarcoat, so that student, like, not in a way that makes them afraid, but just makes them aware of what's like going on in the world. So I think it's a lot of like give and take when it comes to family relationships. You know, children being able to tell people what's going on with them, and parents being able to receive that well and be honest and open and create a safe space where children can share those challenges that they're facing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I would actually echo both what Angel and Jordan were both saying. And in addition to that, I would say for parents or just like guardians in general, or even like trusted mentors, adult figures that kids will go to at times, I think it sometimes can be hard to try to understand where kids are at right now with certain things, like certain trends that are going on in society that they may not be aware of or that they may not be able to relate to. So I think them just practicing like active listening skills to their children, and then also asking like open-ended questions and being very transparent with their kids by saying things like, okay, I'm listening to you. I don't know that I'm going to fully understand everything it is that you're sharing with me right now, but I'm going to try my best to process with you. I may or may not have a response for you today with what you're sharing with me, but I want to try. I want to hang in here. I want to keep having these conversations with you to keep growing in my understanding of what's important to you or what it is that you're going through right now. And I say that mostly because I too used to also do public school teaching as well. And there were a lot of parents who felt so distant from their kids because they just simply couldn't relate culturally speaking. The way they grew up is so far different than how kids are being raised now or the things that students are going through traditionally now. So I just think it's a very good thing for parents or guardians to be able to be honest and not just say like, yeah, I understand, or I agree with everything automatically if you don't. I think it's a responsible thing to be able to say, like, I want to understand. I want to keep having these conversations with you and being honest if they don't in that moment in time. And as far as for teenagers or for kids themselves, I think it's beneficial to kind of just be thinking about what do I stand for? And why do I stand for that thing? Is that thing like hurting me, or is that thing really lifting me up and elevating me? And also, is that thing uplifting other people in my community? Is it bringing me closer to people in a way that's positive and long lasting? Or is it something that's going to be like a short trend here today and having me hurting someone's feelings in order to keep me popular or to keep me, relevant, whatever that thing is? I think you have to really know what you stand for and understand that that can change throughout different seasons of your life. So I say that in response to the question of what can we do to talk about like students or teenagers being able to kind of navigate the peer pressure and all these different thoughts and things like that they're having. Like, you're allowed to be curious about life. You're allowed to be curious about where you are. You're allowed to struggle with different things, try, just kind of figure out where you are in life. But I would say at some point it's good to be talking with friends, be talking with mentors, continue talking with parents and guardians, people that you trust, even if it is a teacher at school. For some people, it may be the Starbucks barista. Like, if that's where you and your friends hang out the most, and this is a person that, is always speaking wisdom to you. For me, when I was in grad school years ago, it was a lady at Dollar Tree. Every time I would walk in consistently, she would just speak these words of wisdom to me and my friends and be like, hey, Bree, like, good to see you again, and just be checking in on me. And then that was the person I communicated with in my community. So I honestly just think it's okay, asking those questions, seeking out help, seeking out community, but really figuring out, what do I stand for and why do I stand for this thing? And it's okay if this changes in different seasons of my life. So I think that would be my brain map to the question.
Thank you. It's really important what each of you said, of course, and I'm so thankful that you have someone or many someones that you can reach out to. So I remember when I was a teenager, I had a very controlling, he wasn't even really a boyfriend, he was a friend, but who did not treat me the way that I should have been treated. And so where could I go with that? I could not say anything to my parents because they didn't want me to be around boys anyway. So to try to say, oh, by the way, I feel like this person is treating me in a way that I don't want to be treated. And he got tired of my innocence. So that's the only way that I got rid of him. But it was very hurtful and it was damaging. And so, for individuals who have those kinds of situations, if it is the barista or Dollar Tree or someone else, it's really important to find that someone, an adult, a trusted adult that you can reach out to. So, I'm glad you're having positive experiences, but some people just don't. And so this also gives hope to young people that will listen to this, that you can rebuild it, you can be okay, and it's okay to find that person that you can trust to speak to. And now that you all are adults, then you can be the ones, to be those trusted people. Ooh, okay. So, how did you avoid gang activity when people you knew were in gangs? I guess the first question is, were you aware of gangs in the community or in your school or something like that? And how, if you did know about them, did you avoid getting involved or being hurt by them or, having interactions or anything like that is my question.
I would say, like, I think for me, like the times I saw it most, like I grew up with all boys, like my older brothers. So I would say for me, it was always like carving my own path. Um, I don't know. I don't know. A lot of people are easily influenced. I'm just not the type of person that's just like do what I see, but I know that's really hard for you. I would just say find something that you're passionate about and stick to it because it's gonna keep you busy. It's gonna keep your mind off of that kind of stuff. Like I know for me, I stayed doing something. Like if it wasn't one thing, it was something else. So it's like after school, I'm not just sitting around. That's how you get in trouble. Like I'm not just sitting around bored. Like I'm at a practice or I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Like staying active is extremely important because they recruit you. They find people that are not doing much, that don't really have much to lose. So when you find something that you're interested in, when you find something to occupy your time, it's a good way to kind of like stray from going down that road. That's what I did.
Thank you.
I think for me, I feel like I'm kind of similar to Jordan. I'm not super like easily influenced. Well, I can be, but not when it comes to like violence and gangs and things like that. And so I like as I think about it more, I just keep thinking about, when it came to, especially when it rounded up to those like junior and senior years of college, or not college, high school, just remembering that like I have goals and I have like something greater that's ahead of me. I didn't even know what that looked like, but I just knew that like those goals and those things I wanted to accomplish and the type of person that I wanted to be, there were going to be certain things that I had to step into, and there were going to be certain things that I would have to avoid, and certain people that I couldn't hang around, and certain activities that I couldn't do, things like that. So staying busy, but also being aware of like, I think if I were, if someone was listening to this, like a child or a young adult or a high school student, I would just let them know to like remember who you are and remember the type of person that you want to be and the type of goals that you want to achieve and where you want to be in life, and let that be your path. Like even with my students, when they're like, oh, I don't want to do this assignment, or I don't want to, why can't I just stop this class? I'll tell them like, you have goals. Like you're trying to get this place. You've already told me you want to be a soccer player or a football player or a basketball player. Like you have goals and you have things that you can do that'll help you get there. So you have to make sure that you are yes, definitely staying active and also remembering your self-worth and where you want to go in life. And if you keep that in the forefront of your mind, it makes it easier when you see things that aren't leading you down that path to go forward to the things that are leading you in that path. So that's what I would say.
Thank you.
Awesome. I would say that I agree with both of you ladies in general about like having the goals, having the specific vision. I think my motivation was a little bit different. I was a little bit more naive in middle school because of the middle school I went to. It was just rampant, like everywhere. And at the time, I don't think I understood like the actual seriousness of gangs because it doesn't operate here like it does in areas like LA or New York or Chicago. So I think my experience is a little bit different in how I thought about it. But I think for me, I just thought more so about the fact that I didn't like the violent lifestyle that I was seeing some of my friends who were actually involved in those things experiencing. And I also wanted like a healthier community and healthy friendships. I think that also sometimes people obviously they do try to recruit people who are like, oh, you're kind of a loner, or oh, okay, like you don't have these goals, you're not doing much. But then people get sucked into that because like they want to feel loved, they want to feel valued, that kind of thing. And I was just like, I kind of want something that's a little bit more healthier, like friendship wise. I don't want to have to get beat up in order to have friends. So you know, just to say, for example, like speaking again from an older adult speaking down to younger people, or I shouldn't say down, sorry, but speaking across to younger people, I would just say that we can do a better job of making people feel loved and making children feel seen and making them feel heard where they are at in life right now. And then also continuing to help them get to those goals too. Because sometimes I do think, or I've heard a lot of students in the past say, I have these goals, I have these dreams, but like, my mom didn't go to college, or my dad is in jail, or all of these different things. So they don't really feel like those things are realistic for them sometimes, just because of what they've seen in front of them. And for me, it was different. Like my mom, when I was younger, literally was like in grad school when I was already in elementary school, things like that. So I felt like my trajectory already looked different than most people who are around me. So I would just say, like, for myself, I would help the kids to see how they can actually get to those places and then actively be involved in their lives and helping to get them in those places. And that's easier said than done. It is a lot of hard work. It's one thing to say we want to be involved in people's lives and get them to where they need to be. And it's another thing to be consistent enough and continue pouring out the energy to actually do that for them. So I think that's what I would just say as far as like the influence of gang life is really targeting the human heart first, building those relationships to make them feel seen and loved, and letting them know that there is a better experience of community and friendship for you to help you get to where you want to be in life. That's not this false image, this facade of, hey, if you come be with us, like we'll protect you, like we got you, we'll get you where you want to be in life. Like that's a false image. So
thank you. So when I was growing up, I don't think that there were really gangs. Well, not where I grew up, but there were a lot of young people that started to use heroin because it was kind of an affluent town that I grew up in, and so most young people, their parents had money, so they were well-to-do, and so they could afford drugs, which resulted in a third of my high school classmates overdosing. And so I was too quiet and too shy to even try to be around anyone like that. Plus, I was an annoyance to them, because I was, why would anybody want somebody that behaved like me in that circle? So that didn't work out. But if ever they had a problem or something that they were going through, then they would always come to me and ask for advice. But yeah, it's really interesting to hear all of the different perspectives. Even when you're old, you'll have perspectives to share too. So then we have two more questions. One is, would you tell, like when you were younger, would you tell somebody if a young person had a gun? And if you knew that someone had a gun, and they started posting things weird, or of course this leads to the thoughts about gun violence, and people that are committing these crimes, and not saying that you knew or know someone who is planning anything. That's not the point. The point is that young people are getting their hands on guns. We know that 12 to 15 young people in Durham have died because of gun violence. And that seems to be a trend now. And one of the things I think about is, well, if they didn't have access to a gun, then, perhaps that would change things. Or if there are guns in the home, then they should be locked up. Gun locks are free from the health department. So there are ways to secure or monitor guns and that kind of thing. But so the question is, would you tell if you knew someone had a gun, that illegally had a gun when you were younger? Would you have done that if that was an issue? And would you do that now if you knew, because of what you saw or heard on social media, that, wait a minute, something's wrong here? And would you tell somebody about it? So that's pretty much what that is.
I definitely feel like I would have when I was younger. I don't know. I don't know if snitch or if you would call it that, but I've always been like that. Like if it has anything to do with like my safety or harming me, like it would be one thing if it didn't have anything to do with me and then I'll just go on my separate way. But if it's gonna affect me or the people around me, then and now it's kind of the same. Growing up, it wasn't really as common to see people like younger people with guns, but now it's regular. So I would definitely tell for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would definitely tell. I have always been a big person on like if it's hurting me or someone that I care about, I don't like it. Even if it's just the way somebody is talking about someone else. Like my biggest pet peeve is when people bash people that I care about or they bash me in ways that are negative. I can't stand it. And so it's the same way with if somebody's trying to hurt themselves or hurt someone that I care about or hurt me, then it's whatever is doing the hurting has got to go. And so definitely would tell then. And I think it's the same. I know it's the same now because I think about, I'm an aunt now. I have a niece and a nephew who I love to pieces. And if anything would, like if somebody had something around them and wanted to harm them or my family, or even if somebody in my school, wanted to hurt either the staff and faculty that I care about or hurt one of my precious boys, like that's not something that's going to fly. And so definitely would have told then and would tell now because it's about the people that I care about and the people that are in my community that need to be safe and need to be taken care of and need to know that they don't have to I would love it if we could live in a world if somebody could know that like when they go home or when they go out somewhere they can return home safely.
Mm-hmm.
So I always like think about that and think about, like I said, my students, my family, like knowing that they have that security and safety. Like I know we don't live in a perfect world, but I wish that that would happen. And I just, yeah, it's all super frustrating. But yes, I would have told then, and I will tell now.
Okay, thank you.
I think that both of you are brave. I'm honestly going to say that, sure, now, yes. But I think that is because of the position that I am in. I have more control to navigate circumstances. When I was younger, I probably would say no. And the reason I say no is because I witnessed a lot in both middle school and high school. Lots of peers going to faculty member or not faculty, but administration, people like that, and telling them issues that were wrong, like, oh, such and such is threatening to fight me, or such and such is threatening to stab me. They have a knife, just all of these different circumstances. And then nothing was ever done about those things. And so my biggest fear would have been like, oh, I would have told someone, particularly, around the era that I was growing up as a teenager, I would have told someone and then they would have just been like, oh, these teenagers, they're always talking about fighting each other, always talking about stabbing or jumping somebody, whatever like that. And then if that information got out by chance, then this person would have came and shot me. So I think for myself, the situation would have felt a little bit more complex for safety purposes, and then also for believability purposes as well too. I don't think that all students always feel safe, because I don't think that they feel like all adults always believe them, especially our students who may or may not be our jokesters who always cry wolf. And so when something is actually really happening and that jokester comes to an administrator and they're like, hey, like such and such, you know, and the administrator's like, okay, all right, like I know that you're the jokester. You're probably just playing. We're not going, you know, it's just kind of, it could be like that. So that is why I would say the reality of, I don't know personally that I would have, just because of the situations I was already witnessing, that administrators were already like, we're not really paying attention to that, because we know how y'all can kind of be and kind of act. And it is true that sometimes does happen. People make false calls, people do play jokes and things like that. But there can be consequences if other students overhear faculty members talking about those things and nothing is ever done about it. Mm-hmm. So I would say, yeah, probably no at that age, but yes now.
Yeah. And so, of course, during my time, guns were not even a thing. You know, I mean, it was either fists or a knife. So, you know, that was basically it. And I don't remember one incident where someone was really physically harmed by another individual. I mean, you know, people got beat up, so you know they had a bloody nose or something like that. But other than that, it's just you know, times have changed. I mean, even within your ages, you know, times have really changed and things have gotten just really difficult and horrible and hard, you know, and I don't want to blame mental illness on everything, but I think Jordan made a comment in another Zoom that we had about how angry young people are, you know, and hateful, you know, just like rage and hate. And one of the things that you said, Jordan, had to do with video games being so violent, and you know, so that human life doesn't really mean what it means in reality, because you know, if you're looking at, well, you say it, Jordan, you're right here, and I'm like repeating your words. But I listened.
Oh yeah, you got it. That's legit. I was basically saying how especially like younger boys, so many video games are focused around like violence, like whether it's shooting games or even like GTA, like I'm running over somebody in the street, like it's just so violent. And like um the like when you haven't actually like experienced it in real life, it downplays how serious it actually is. Like I just click two buttons and I'm killing three people. Like that is insane. Like that is crazy. And like I was saying in the other Zoom, like no matter how much you can say all day, like it doesn't affect me mentally. It doesn't. It does. Like the stuff that we see, the stuff we put in our brain, the stuff we listen to, it's subconsciously affecting the way we act and the way that we perceive the world every day. So it's really important to make sure you're putting good energy and good things into your mental, or you're gonna reciprocate that when you go out into the world. So that's like, I hate that they have those games out like that. The little boys, like the Nerf guns, like everything is just so violent. Like I don't know. Like when I was a kid, it wasn't like, and I'm the youngest one in this call. So it's like how fast that changed. Like when I was a kid, it was like wrestling. Like it wasn't, and it's just came from 0 to 100 like in a few years, and I don't think it's gonna get better. Mm-hmm. I think they're just gonna find more and more ways. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, so this is the last question before I open to see if you have any last comments for those that will listen to this and learn and be edified and uplifted by all the things you lovely ladies have said so far. So this question is, what do you think is your superpower?
I'm going to take a page out of your book. But I would say that my superpower is definitely my resilience. I just like for my age, as young as I have, like I've already been through so much. And it's like no matter what I go through, how hard I think it's gonna be, I think everything is the end of the world. I always shake back. I always come back stronger than ever. I found so many ways to cope. Like I'm so mentally strong, that a lot of things that should knock me down, they don't. And I'm very, very grateful for my resilience. And yeah, you taught me that. So
thank you.
That's an interesting question. I think my superpower is probably the faith that I have. I think that it just helps me to hold on to hope that, and not just like my faith in God, but just like the faith that I have in like humanity, and hoping that somewhere one of these generations will be able to, step up and say, like, an instance, whether it's the younger generation, the older ones, whether it's like an intermingling of generations to figure out exactly what to do and how to go about things. But I would say the superpower I have is the faith that I have, because I just am very, I don't know, I'm very hopeful and I'm very optimistic that even though the way the trajectory of the world right now is really insane, I'm just hopeful and that it will get better, and I continue to be prayerful. I pray over, my family to keep them safe, my students, those are young middle school boys who face so much, and I love them all. They all have a really special place in my heart. And so I pray that they are safe and that, that they continue to just be continue to walk in their purpose. And that they discover what that is, to continue to just help them to learn and grow and achieve those things they want to achieve. So I would definitely say my faith was just what keeps me going, and it keeps me hopeful and just very like looking forward to the brighter days, hopefully.
Thank you.
Yes, I would definitely echo the resilience and faith, like both of those. I think to that, I'm going to add curiosity, my ability to continuously be curious, because I think continuing to have questions to ask in life makes me want to keep living each and every day. I'm like, okay, I have more to live, like more things I want to learn about, more things I want answered for myself. And I don't think that I'll ever stop having those questions, to be quite honest. So I think that like continues to be my motivation for having a vision for my life. And I think that will probably be my superpower.
Mm. So you all are making me feel really young because what I'm realizing in every stage of life that I have experienced so far, and I haven't forgotten any stage of life. So whether it was when I was elementary, middle, high school, college, in marriage, and even in the organization that I have, there's always something new. If you're open to something new, there's always something to be hopeful for. If you want to have that hope, there's always something to have faith in. And as you said, be curious about. But all along the way, there are things that happen where you have to be resilient. So I would just echo everything that you've said. And I don't know how you feel about that because, maybe you have the thought that at some point in your aging, whatever age is aging to you, you might have felt like, ooh, maybe things will just like kind of smooth out and you'll have all the answers and life will just be, whatever, utopian. what I can say is that there is a degree of calm and joyful expectation that things will be better. But I think that comes from having conversations with more people that are not like you than are like you. So this conversation for me, it's not, I mean, I'm talking among you, right? It's not like, well, okay, tell me how you feel. Like I don't have any feelings. And so we all can learn from each other. And, Angel, when you said that you hope that maybe conversations among us can make a difference, I really think that you hit on something there. Because even though we have 21, 28, 26, did I get that right? Years old, and mine shall remain a secret. That the thing is, even among you all, things have changed so much, but you can learn and grow and listen to each other and get to a place where there are really solutions. But and they come from all of us, especially those of us who remember what life is really like and don't act like we've arrived, because that is not the truth. So I appreciate so much you're taking the time to be on this call with me. And so, as I said, I'm not going to have the last word. You are. And so, if there are any comments that you'd like to make before we close, please do so.
Somebody else go first. I gotta think.
And if you don't have anything, it's okay.
I guess I can say the first thing that came to my mind, which if I could like tell someone or encourage someone, let them know that they're loved and that they're seen and that they're valued and that their life is worth something.
Thank you. Yes.
I kind of said that better. That's exactly what I wanted to say.
Okay, very good.
I would say yes to that. And then also just don't be afraid to keep starting over, figuring out who you are, figuring out what this world is about, what this life is about, and starting over different dreams. Keep growing, keep expanding. Just have fun with it.
Very good. Thank you so much again. And hopefully we'll get together again sometime. I love you all. I haven't forgotten about you. Angel, Bree, Jordan. Happy birthday tomorrow, Jordan, 21.
Thank